Okay, here we go again. So, I didn't want to make this video, but when I see three different creators make the same video in, less than the span of a week, I think we have a problem. And if you haven't guessed it by now, I am talking about the oh so loved and admired Scalpers. And I'm just going to go right out and say it. They are the worst thing that has ever happened to TCG players. They are leeches and they are scum. And I know damn well that I am not the only one who thinks this way. I might be the only one willing to say it, and that's fine. So, what can we do as a community to put a halt to this? Because I get it a little bit with the beta boxes. That was a one-time printing of the alts. And they were pretty calmed down for prices until we knew that it was a one-time printing. We thought those were going to get reprinted in GDO 1. We were wrong. So those I kind of understand. But why was GDO 1 so hard to get because of scalpers? They were almost solely responsible for killing the game at launch because GDO 1 was so hard to get. I got lucky because I have a really good LGS. I have a really good LGS who sold everything at MSRP, and they got a decent amount, and that was before the player base was as big as it was, and we were able to get a good amount of product. And they did reprint it, but barely, bro. Like, you call that a reprint? Actually insulting what they did with GDO 1. But they did print more GDO 2, GDO 3, and GDO 4. But EBO 1 was also massively underprinted as well for some reason. Like, why would you massively underprint your first side set that you know damn well it's gonna sell? Like, it's this whole. Just take a look at One Piece. You already have the basis for what you're doing. You're just copying One Piece. Why would you underprint that? Why is Psycho Haru bought out? Why is there an LR from that set that is over $1,000? LR plus plus. The plus pluses were like 500-ish, which even then I don't agree with, to be honest. Like, a case should be roughly like $1,500. One card should not make the complete value of the case. I don't think so. It should make up a good. If it's only one per case, it should make a good amount of the value, like maybe $500, and then along with your other alts and LRs, like, yeah, maybe you can come up with the value of the case. But one card being more than or equal to the value of the case at MSRP, that's outrageous. So clearly Bandai, you know what? I'm gonna take that back because they are doing something, but they are also not solely responsible. At the end of the day, they're getting their money. I think from now on, it is in our hands and it is our responsibility to put a stop to it. But the only way we can do that is with our wallets. Right? Like, we need to collectively or individually come up with, a hard no for certain prices on certain things. Because why is a card that is not even a year old, like hundreds of dollars? I understand certain things that are old being like an outrageous amount of money, like the base set one Pokemon cards. Like, if you have one of those in good condition, yeah, dude, I think you deserve a few $100s for that. Um, But when a card is not even a year old, when it's not even months old, and it's already thousands of dollars, you have a problem. And the problem is that we are letting this happen by buying these things. And look, if you have your money and you have like money to spend, I'm not here to tell you what you should and shouldn't buy. You know, spend your money on what you want. But I ask you, is that really worth the money you're spending? At the end of the day, this is just cardboard. It's just paper with pretty pictures on them. That's it. And just so we're clear, I consider myself a collector first, player second. And don't get me wrong, I go to all the events that I can. I would go, if I could make this my full-time job and just go to event after event after event and make videos and buy cards for my collection, cool. I would love nothing more than that, man. Dream come true. But, like I said, I am a collector first. But at the risk of sounding incredibly arrogant, I consider myself a real collector. Because these finance bros that are coming out and making videos like why you should invest in Gundam, which cards you should invest in Gundam, how to start your Gundam portfolio. Yes, these are actual titles of videos that I have seen in Gundam, for Pokemon, for One Piece. You know, they tried to do it for Yu-Gi-Oh, but luckily Konami reprints everything into oblivion, which is great, in my opinion, because who does that benefit? It benefits the players. More cards in players' hands means more player butts in event seats. I think that's a great idea, a great outcome. So if people want to come at me, it's like, well, if like your collection's gonna tank, good, dude, good. I hope my collection tanks because you know why? Because it's not an investment. You know, like it's not what I'm writing my future on. You you know what my investments are? What I'm like banking on for the future? It's the stock market. I have stocks. I have investments that I put money in here and there. I have stocks that pay me in dividends. That's where I'm spending, that's where I'm putting my money that's going to carry me into my future. Not in card games. I want to collect everything I can because it makes me happy. Because I like it. Because I want to have people come over who share this hobby, this passion, and I want to tell them like, "Hey, look at this binder. Like look at this, look at what I have. This is my collection." And I want to show them my binders and my decks and you know, I like it because it makes me happy. That's what I want. I'm not going to sell my collection ever. I'm not buying these cards with the intention of selling them. I'm not buying them with the intention to use them to send my kid to college. Dude, this is just a fun thing that I want to do. You know what I'm gonna rely on to send my hypothetical kids to college? My job. The job that I go to get paid at. The investments that I can sell when need be. You know, the dividends that I get every couple of months, like every financial quarter. You know, that's what I'm counting on. I'm not counting on this piece of paper, this cardboard, to make me a millionaire. Because at the end of the day, like this is just a game. And like look at it this way, this game is for kids, mind you. And before you come at me like, oh well the majority of players are adults. Yeah, think about that. Why? Why are they adults? Because adults are the only ones who have money. And we are actively pricing out these kids out of this hobby. So what happens when we get a little older and have kids of our own and don't have time to play and have to quit? What happens if we move to an area where there's no scene for the game because that happens and we have to quit? What happens when we just get older and die? just because that's a natural part of life, and that's what happens. Who's gonna replace us? Who's gonna who where is the next generation of TCG players? I haven't seen like a kid playing TCGs since I started playing Yu-Gi-Oh. When I started playing Yu-Gi-Oh, I was 20, and I was playing with people who were 30, 25, 17, 15, 13, 10. There was a 10-year-old playing with us. And right now in Gundam, there's one kid, one 12-year-old kid that we play with. He is the only child at that store. The rest are fully grown adults. He doesn't have money. He won't have his own money for at least 4 more years. So what happens when this game gets too expensive and his dad doesn't want to buy him cards anymore? He's gone. And don't get me wrong, the guys at the shop, we love that kid. We want him to have fun and have a good time, and we will do everything in our power to keep him playing. But there's only so much we can do, because there's only so much product out in the wild. Sometimes for us adults, it's difficult to get the play sets that we need, let alone an extra play set for him just in case. If he wants to play a deck that we're all playing, and we don't have an extra playset of whatever the main card is, he can't play that deck. So what's gonna happen? Maybe he plays a suboptimal deck and loses every single time. Gets upset, quits. Cool. You know, like, because the kids that are playing, they depend on their parents because the parents are the ones who have money. But the parents aren't going to spend out the ass for a playset of a card that this kid needs to be somewhat competitive. No, when the parent says no, it's no. And that kid's gone. Maybe he'll come back in 4 years when he has his own money. But what if when he has his own money, he'll look at these prices and be like, I could spend this money literally anywhere else. You know, and that's what these people aren't thinking. Like, this is a game for kids first and foremost. You could argue, and I have seen this argument, that that Gundam is like Bandai's premium card game, you know? But look, premium doesn't have to mean, you know, finance your car to buy the deck you need, to buy the pretty card you want because you're a fan of the show. And look, you don't even have to be a player. Like, if you just like Gundam and like, oh, this is a really pretty card, and you want to buy it, yeah, go for it. Like, for example, I also buy figures, and I have a Hinata figure that if there is a pretty Hinata card, I would like to buy it to display it with my figure. I'm also doing that with my Yu-Gi-Oh figures that I have. And that's fine, but like what I'm saying is, these prices shouldn't be this high. Tell me why Wing Zero from GDO1, the alt art, is almost $300. I think it is $300. I get that it's meta, but there's no reason why that should be that much money. Not yet, at least. The card's not even a year old. Like, you haven't earned that price yet. Like, that's a more mature price. Like, you're not a year old. This game's not a year old. So, look, personally, because this is just a rant, and I don't want this to go too long, I have my own lines in the sand for certain things. You know, I won't buy rares for a certain amount, and I won't buy rare pluses for a certain amount. And that goes the same thing for, you know, the rest of the rarity chain. I have my personal caps, but that's just me. That's just one person, and like, I'm literally a nobody. I have 50 subscribers from years ago when this was a Yu-Gi-Oh channel. So who knows if any of them are still even, you know, in the space? Who knows how many of them even are still in like play TCGs, let alone Gundam. You know, and I don't really get many views, if any. Now, this isn't like a boo-hoo, it's just a matter of fact. So I don't think there's much I can do, but like, if the few people who see this can spread it around, maybe, you know, maybe as a collective, as a community of players, we can do something. Maybe we can come up with a community cap for certain things, or maybe we can get a few creators together and, come up with something so that when new players come in, they can see that this is how we roll. These are the etiquette, and if you see someone not following them, don't fraternize with them. Don't buy things from them. I think we need to, as a collective, stop buying from certain LGSs as well, because there are a lot of LGSs that sell things way too expensive. And if they do, we just need to cut ties with them. We're not going to buy from you anymore. It's been real, but I'm going to go somewhere else. Like my locals that I hype up locally, I hype them up because they sell things at MSRP. I've brought people into Gundam because of that. I'll talk to them about Gundam. They're like, yeah, but it's like way too expensive. And I'll be like, not over here. You can get a box at MSRP, bro. And guess what? And I see them at the shop, like the next weekend or the next release. And like, yeah, man, like if I can get it here, like I'll play. Like, yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. There just has to be something that we can do because this ain't right. It's not cool. And it's honestly irritating. And like I said, when I see three creators make three videos on the same topic, then it's clearly a problem. And, this is a message to all the scalpers out there. I hope you lose all your money. I hope you go into financial ruin for this dumbass decision that you're making because you're ruining it for the rest of us. Invest your money in adult things, okay? The stock market is there. Put your money in there. Put it in the S&P 500. Search up which stocks make dividends and put your money there so you can get some good dividends. Come on, man. Grow up. Why are you lining up at Target at 4 in the morning to fight kids and parents for a box of Pokemon that you can sell at like 100 times the price that you got it for? That's just predatory, man. Like, you must not have any mirrors in your house because there's no way you can look at yourself. Like, I refuse to believe that you can do that, go home and be like, yeah, I'm a good person. You're not. You're not. And everybody who thinks like you is not either. And like, don't get me wrong. This is not me talking about like buyouts by the players. If you're a player and you want to buy something out and you can afford to buy something out and sell it, I still think you're a piece of shit. But at the same time, at least you're in there, man. At least you get the game. At least you know what to buy. Because you'll see something meta and buy that. Instead of these random ass, like unplayable cards that no one's using that all of a sudden spike to oblivion. I respect the people who do buyouts who are in the game more than I do the scalpers who know nothing about the game, the franchise, or the people. And that's saying something, man. So yeah, I leave the question on to you guys once again. What can we do? If you have any ideas, I'm all ears. I would love to hear from you. And the next videos will be more positive. They're already recorded. I'm just editing them, but I just thought this video needed to get out immediately. Thank you for your time, and yeah, man. Let me know, because this shit ain't cool.